Today's episode of the More You Know podcast is brought to you by CrowdQuestion, a brand new social communication platform focused on connecting crowds to bring everyone closer to their community, as well as enhancing any occasion. Rather than being a social media platform focused on content and advertising, they're focused on communication and connection. Learn more about the platform and download the app free at crowdquestion.com.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
Today's
More
You
No
podcast.
Today I want to share Oprah Winfrey's journey to significance. So Oprah Winfrey was born on January 29th, 1954 in Mississippi. Her birth name was actually Orpah rather than Oprah, but people regularly mispronounced her name, calling her Oprah, and Oprah stuck. She was born to an unmarried teenage mother who was a housemaid, and her father was a coal miner turned barber turned city councilman who was in the armed forces when she was born. Shortly after she was born, her mother traveled north, and Winfrey spent the first 6 years of her life living in rural poverty with her maternal grandmother. Her grandmother was so poor that Winfrey often wore dresses made out of potato sacks, which obviously other children made fun of her for. But at the same time, her grandmother was focused on guiding her in the right way. She taught Oprah how to read before the age of 3, and regularly took her to church. Then at age 6, Winfrey moved with her mother to an inner-city neighborhood in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Her mother was less supportive and encouraging than her grandmother had been, which was largely due to the amount of hours she had to work as a maid. And also around this time, her mother had another daughter named Patricia. By 1962, her mother was having difficulty raising both daughters, so Oprah was temporarily sent to live with her father in Nashville, Tennessee. Then Winfrey eventually moved back in with her mother, and also around this time her mother had given birth to her brother Jeffrey. Unfortunately at this point, Oprah started facing terrible adversity. Winfrey started being molested by her cousin, uncle, and a family friend at the age of 9. Then by the age of 13, she ran away from home. From there at the age of 14, Oprah became pregnant. Her son was born prematurely and died shortly after birth. Then after having early success in high school, she was transferred to the affluent suburban Nicollet High School, and here, she was continually reminded that she came from poverty. This led to her beginning to rebel, and she stole money from her mother in an effort to keep up with her free-spending peers. This then resulted in her mother sending her back to live with her father in Nashville, and here her father Vernon was strict but encouraging, making her education a priority. She then became an honor student, was voted most popular girl, and was a part of her school speech team. She had so much success on the speech team that she won a full scholarship to Tennessee State University. Also during high school, she won the Miss Black Tennessee beauty pageant, and along with that started working at the local black radio station WVOL, who she continued to work for through her first 2 years of college. Then from there, she started working in local media. She was both the youngest news anchor and the first black female news anchor. And then in 1976, at the age of 22, she moved to Baltimore to co-anchor the 6 o'clock news, but unfortunately within a year, she was removed as a co-anchor and worked in lower profile positions at the station. But from there she was recruited to co-host another station's local talk show. Then 5 years later, she then relocated to Chicago to host her own half-hour morning talk show. Within months of hosting AM Chicago, the show went from last place in the ratings to being the highest-rated talk show in Chicago. The show was then renamed to The Oprah Winfrey Show and expanded to a full hour. And by 1986, the show was broadcasted nationwide. Her career from here then took off like a rocket ship. Her show became one of the biggest daytime TV shows, and she gained a huge amount of influence. Then in the early 2000s, she co-founded the women's cable television network Oxygen. After that, in 2008, she got her own channel called OWN, standing for the Oprah Winfrey Network. And then her show finally ended in 2011. Aside from her show and television networks, Oprah's been involved in many other ventures. These include acting, online businesses, publishing and writing, and philanthropy. And as of September 2020, Oprah is worth $2.5 billion. I hope this talk makes a positive impact in your life. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening or watching it. Check out other episodes. Leave a review. Follow the podcast on social media at More You Know Pod. And sign up for CrowdQuestion to ask me questions about the episode. Again, thank you for listening as we propel through podcasting with the More You Know.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
Today's
More
You
No
podcast.